Hi, it's time for a chime video. Today we're going to revisit the topic of recreating tube hangers for NuTone Long-Tube 8-note door chimes. This will be the second video about this topic, and I highly recommend that you go watch the first one, which I will put one of those pop-up things right up in here for you to go find it to fill in the background of what we're going to talk about in this video, because I do not want to have to redo the whole thing. Well, I guess I'll have to redo some of it. After you watch the other video, you'll know that I've been working with a young man named Nicholas, who is a 3D designer and has a 3D printer, and he has worked on recreating the tube hangers and actually made them better. Go watch the first video, you'll understand more. He sent me samples that I used in the other video, the one you're going to go watch now. And the thing that we discovered, and the thing I talked about at the end of that video, is there are two different types of plug-ins that go inside the ends of the NuTone brass tubes. There are thin ones and there are thick ones. These each require a different design of tube hanger so they lock into the ends correctly. This is a thin one, and you can see Nicholas wrote on the bag, it says small, because it's for the small ones or the thin ones. And this one is the thick one, and on the bag it says big, because that way we know which is which. One of the things that I talked about in the first video, that video you're going to go watch now to get up to speed on all of this, is when customers call and need these, how are we going to make a determination of whether they need small ones or big ones? Because it's easy for me, here's a thick one and here's a thin one, but you don't have both of them at your house, so how are you going to know? So we had to come up with an idea, and part of the idea was mine, and Nicholas sort of figured out an easy way to do it. What we need is something that's standard that people can use to make a comparison or judge whether they have thin plugs or thick plugs. All of those problems, which initially seemed very complicated, are actually pretty easy, and the solution to figuring this out all comes down to strictly one copper penny. Sometimes things are easy when you think about them. So let's move these out of the way, and I'm going to show you how this is going to work. What you're looking at are the two different types of plugs that go into the top ends of the long brass tubes for NuTone 8-note door chimes. This one is the thin one, and this one is the thick one. And if you looked very carefully, and very carefully is required to understand this, the thickness of the metal side here is about twice as much on the thick one as it is on the thin one. From inside to outside edge here is about twice as thick as it is on this one. So this is a thin one and this is a thick one. The hangers that Nicholas has designed are different because they have to lock into these little cross sections in the bottom, and the thickness of the cross section is the same as the thickness of the sides. So this one has a spacer in it that is longer or wider than this one, which is skinny and narrower. So you have to have the right ones, otherwise they won't fit. As a customer, if you called to order these, you have to know which ones you need. Do you need thin ones or do you need thick ones? And you have to have a way to determine that and figure it out. So we came up with an idea, something that's easy and standard that everyone can do. What you need is you need a penny, like that. It's very simple. If you have thin ones, like this one, when you take the penny, it will drop down inside. And it fits very nicely. It's got a little bit of space in there, but not very much. And so, thin ones, penny fits. Take the penny out. If you have thick ones, and you try to drop the penny in, it won't go. It sits on top because the sides are too thick, so the opening in the top of the plug is too small, and a penny won't go. It's that simple. The solution to the entire problem comes down to you need to have a penny. I recommend a nice shiny penny. But if you don't have one of those, a dull beat up penny, that's okay too. But it's got to be a penny, not a dime and not a nickel. It's got to be a penny. So that's the solution. Now we can look at the two revised tube hangers, or actually it's one revised tube hanger and one of the original ones that Nicholas made for us. So we have our thin one and we have our thick one. And the reason we know that is because if you take your penny, it'll fit down inside the thin one, but it won't fit down inside the thick one. It just sits on top. So now we know which is which. We'll try not to get them mixed up. We have one bag with hangers that say small, that's for the thin one, and we have another bag that says big, that's for the thick one. We'll do the big ones first because those are the ones that Nicholas originally made, and they're very good. And all you need is a little pair of needle nose pliers, and all you do is, this would be the top end, the recessed part down in here, and you take the end of the tube hanger and you insert it into the long opening in the cross section, and then you take your needle nose pliers and you carefully grab the little square that he's molded into it and you turn it 90 degrees, and there you go. It's locked in and it's ready to go. Now of course this will be inside a tube, and I'll show you that in a minute. That leaves us with our thin one. So these are the newly revised hangers for the thin plugs, and you do exactly the same thing. You put the end of it inside the slot and you take your pliers and you turn it 90 degrees, and now this one's locked in also. See? Very simple. So that's it. I'm going to be contacting Nicholas and making an order for both styles, the small ones and the big ones, and it shouldn't take very long for him to make them and get them to me. And then we'll have hangers available for either style of tubes, and if you need them, all you have to do is contact us. Our phone number and email will be at the end of this video. We'll send them out to you and you'll be all set. I hope you found this interesting, and perhaps for someone it will be helpful. If it is, give it a thumbs up on YouTube because that helps us just a little bit. There'll be a banner right here that shows you how to subscribe. Go to our YouTube homepage, click on the bell, and when you click on the bell, click on it to receive all notifications. And every time we post a new video, you'll get a notification and you can watch it. That's all for today. See you on the next video.